This week felt like a storm brewing inside my own home. My wife, Clara, didn't shout, didn't fight, but the words she spoke cut deeper than any argument ever could. They weren't big statements, just 5 little things she said, each one like a brick in the wall she was building between us. I listened carefully, and by the end of the week, I knew our marriage was done. What she didn't know was that I had already decided she would feel the sting of her choices just as much as I did. It began on Monday. Over breakfast, she casually said, "I don't feel like we're on the same team anymore." Her tone wasn't angry, it was almost cold, like she was stating a fact. I looked at her across the table, remembering the years we spent lifting each other up, and realized she was already letting go. I didn't argue, I just filed the words away in my mind. On Tuesday, she said, "Sometimes I wonder what my life would be like if I hadn't settled down so young." That word, settled, burned me alive inside. Settling was what you did for less, not for love. I felt like she was telling me our years together were a compromise, not a choice. That night, while she scrolled on her phone beside me in bed, I stared at the ceiling, already imagining a life without her. Wednesday came with its own dagger. She told me, "You don't inspire me anymore." No hesitation, no softness. Just the blunt truth from her lips. I thought about the long hours I worked, the sacrifices I made, and how I'd built a stable home for us. But in her eyes, that wasn't enough. Inspiration, it seemed, meant excitement, not devotion. Thursday brought the cruelest one yet. She looked me straight in the eye and said, "I don't think I love you the way I used to." That was it. No explanation, no attempt to fix anything. Just a statement of fact. It was the moment I stopped pretending. I knew right then that this marriage was a cage, and she had already found the door out. Friday was the confirmation I didn't even need but got anyway. She sighed over dinner and muttered, "Maybe we'd both be happier if we weren't together." The 5th and final nail in the coffin. I sat there, chewing my food slowly, hiding the fire rising in my chest. She thought she was softening the blow, but all she did was light the fuse for my resolve. I didn't argue, didn't beg, didn't even let her see the storm she'd stirred in me. Instead, I smiled politely, nodded, and told her, "You might be right." That night, while she slept, I made my plan. If she thought life without me was going to be brighter, then I would make sure she truly understood what she was losing. Over the weekend, I gathered everything I had built, bank accounts in my name, investments she didn't even know existed, and the business I had started quietly on the side. She thought we only had the modest savings we managed together, but I had worked in silence, preparing for storms just like this one. On Sunday morning, I told her calmly, "I've been thinking, and I agree. We should separate." She looked surprised, as if she expected me to fight for her, to plead. Instead, I packed my bags that same day and left her sitting in the house she thought she controlled. What she didn't realize yet was that the house wasn't hers to keep. Within a week, the legal papers arrived. I had already transferred the deed of the house back into my name. It had always been mine before marriage. The accounts she thought she'd split were far smaller than she imagined. And the real wealth, the business and investments, were locked safely in my hands. Clara tried to reach out, not out of love but out of panic. She said she didn't expect me to move so quickly, that maybe we could talk things through. But her 5 statements echoed in my mind, and I gave her the only reply she deserved. "You made it clear where your heart was." I just listened. Her friends tried to blame me, saying I was cruel for walking away so fast. But they hadn't heard the words she spoke, hadn't seen the way her eyes had gone empty when she looked at me. I hadn't ended the marriage. She had. I simply refused to stand in the ruins and pretend it was a home. Weeks later, I was living in my new apartment, free, focused, and determined. Clara was still in the old house, struggling with the bills, realizing she had underestimated me. The life she thought she could rebuild without me was already cracking. And for once, I didn't feel guilty. She had given me 5 signs that our marriage was over. I gave her one final act to show her I understood, walking away without leaving her anything to cling to. It wasn't anger, it was clarity. She ended us with words. I ended us with action. And as I closed the chapter on that week, I felt nothing but peace. Revenge wasn't in the shouting, or the fighting, or the bitterness. Revenge was in showing her that she had thrown away a man who was far stronger, far wiser, and far more prepared than she ever imagined.